This is the new Honda Accord. And before we go anywhere, I know what some of you are thinking. It's a sedan. It doesn't stand a chance in this SUV-obsessed world. And you'd be right. Honda even knows it, which is why they have a really surprisingly low sales expectation for this new car. Despite that though, they know something else, and that's that the Accord has this dedicated fan base that will always hop into a new car. So the question is, are those fans getting the car that they remember? Are they getting a good car at all? Before we find out, remember to check out the full written review over on carsguide.com.au and hit those like and subscribe buttons to stay up to date with our latest videos. What you're looking at here is a totally new generation car. In fact, it's the 10th generation of the Accord lineage, which started way back in 1977. This new car is lighter, more rigid, and the bodywork is peppered with aerodynamic refinements when compared with the 9th generation which came before it. It looks great too. The new Accord sports a coupier roofline but is strong on Honda's rather unique design language throughout. It's more restrained than the Civic though, and fans will appreciate that both inside and out. Honda will only offer the Accord in one spec level, the VTI LX, which is as high as it goes. The brand has rather low sales expectations for this sedan, of only 150 units a year. It's a bit of a different take on the mass market approach used by its primary competitors, the Toyota Camry and Subaru Liberty. That single grade is split into two engine options. Over on this side you have a 1.5 litre turbo, which will be familiar from other cars in Honda's range, although slightly different in this implementation. And on this side you have a 2 litre hybrid. This one's perhaps the more interesting of the two, as it's the first model in Honda's renewed hybrid push. As you'd hope with just one spec level, the features are great too. The Accord features some of the best bits available across Honda's range, and then some. Despite what the demographic for the Accord might suggest, you're still getting a really high-tech interior. You've got a semi-digital dash in here with all the readouts you might expect, a touch screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support, and down here you have a Qi wireless charger and USB outlet. That media system is showing its age though, and despite the really comfortable seats that I love, there are some features that I'm not entirely a fan of in here. This wood grain dash, for example, is clearly just a sticker. There's no texture to it at all. And the weirdly upright gear knob is just a little cheap compared to some premium competitors. On top of the media suite and aforementioned features, the Accord also scores some properly upmarket features suited to a luxury sedan, like a head-up display, noise cancellation from the inside, and heated seats. Packaging is one of Honda's strong points, and this new Accord absolutely delivers. Folks in the front get luxury thrones, large storage areas in the doors and center console, and the brand has even managed to reduce the size of the A-pillars for better visibility. In the back seat there's leagues of legroom, but headroom was surprisingly limited, and the C-pillar makes it a tad tricky for getting in and out. There's a plush armrest, USB ports, and even a ski port back there too. That brings us to the boot, which is one of the Accord's best attributes. This is because it doesn't matter whether you buy the hybrid or not, you still get the same large storage area. This is because Honda has managed to mount the batteries under the rear passenger seat. While we're on the topic of batteries, well, you're probably wondering by now, how does the new Accord drive? Alright, behind the wheel of the Accord. First thing to note is if you've driven any recent Honda, you'll find a lot is familiar here. And that goes down to the seating position in particular. The moment you get in it, you've got this nice low seating position. The Accord's got really comfy, these kind of leather trimmed seats. I'm a big fan of those. And the steering wheel, telescopic adjust, you can lower it a little bit, not too far. And it does have that kind of chunky feel that Honda steering wheels have become known for over the last couple of years. I really like that about it. Steering feel itself, it's a little bit artificial. Like it's a little bit too heavy when you initially turn it in, and that will depend on your drive mode as well. You have 3 of them. You've got Econ, Sport, and Normal. They sort of change the characteristics of the car quite a bit. They do alter that steering, so in Sport it becomes quite heavy. In Eco it's quite light, and they have reduced the amount of turns it takes to get the wheels to lock, which means even though this car is quite big, it's easy to get into smaller parking places, which is nice. Aside from the electrically assisted feel, the steering is direct and linear, and we're big fans of Honda's wheel, which is chunky and satisfying as a primary touch point with which you interact with the car. Okay, now having driven both variants, we're in the hybrid now, drove the petrol yesterday. One thing you'll note, especially over in the petrol, is that the CVT transmission, there's no denying that it will try and hamper you if you accelerate really hard. It has a really artificial feeling. It does take away from the revs even when you're really up high. Although one of the interesting things we found about the petrol is the power actually quite notably comes back on when you start to get way up near 5,000 revs, which was a surprise. The engine feels powerful enough. It's more responsive than it is in the CR-V. It's possibly more powerful than it is in the CR-V, so that was nice to find. Hybrid's a different beast entirely. It's got a more direct transmission almost. It's like when you put your foot on the accelerator, it's very direct and it rides all the way up. And it rides all the way up the rev range really quickly as well. So quite different experiences between the two cars, which I didn't expect. And then there's the ride quality. So Honda like to say that they've imbued a bit of Accord Euro into this new Accord, and that sort of implies that it's sportier, it's firmer, and it really is. You can feel every little bit of that stiffness through the chassis. It's almost too stiff, and the suspension is almost too tightly sprung. It's quite jiggly on a country road like this, and can be quite firm, especially around the rear when you hit potholes and such. So that was quite unexpected too, but it's a sportier ride than maybe a lot of Accord owners are used to, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Noise in the cabin was pretty good. I had expected the road noise to be better given the lengths Honda has gone to cancel out sound, but both engines were no more than a distant hum unless you were really ringing them. Honda claims some boldly low fuel figures for both drivetrain options, but we'll have to get back to you on a later road test with some more accurate real-world examples to see how it does on that front. In terms of today's expected safety kit, the Accord gets Honda's full Safety Sense suite, which includes auto emergency braking, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, driver attention alert, and Honda's weird signature lane watch camera in place of blind spot monitoring. Will the new Accord convince anyone to get out of an SUV? Probably not. Will it even convince anyone to get out of a Camry? Probably not. But what Honda has done is bring a surprisingly competitive sedan to a market where it probably shouldn't exist. It's almost fan service, and those fans, I think they'll still love it.